Terrorism, the deadly shooting spree. Two separate locations, at least 4 Marines killed. The gunman pulling up in a convertible, opening fire. Tonight, the aerials of the alleged suspect's car, a 24-year-old. We have new reporting right now on who he is. We are on the scene with team coverage. Also breaking tonight, the verdict just moments ago in the Aurora theater shootings. Our reporter at the courthouse. The plane crash, the miracle survivor who walks out of the woods. Our interview tonight, the 16-year-old describes trying to get her grandparents out of the plane. And the new case tonight, drawing outrage. The family says their loved one on her way to a job interview, the traffic stop, the arrest. She dies behind bars, police calling it a suicide. Her family tonight saying it is not possible.
From ABC News World Headquarters, this is ABC World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening, and we begin tonight with the deadly attacks that played out today at 2 separate locations in Tennessee. What authorities are treating as a, quote, act of domestic terrorism, and almost immediately today, the concern. Who might have inspired these attacks? Here's what we know at this hour. A single shooter with a massive arsenal. Pulling up to this recruiting center first, you can see the glass shattered there. Then the second shooting just a few miles away, sparking this massive police response. A naval support center where 4 Marines were shot and killed. The shooter then killed by police. Outside that second location tonight, these images coming in, the convertible right there. Authorities say the gunman was driving. And tonight, authorities identifying the suspect as this 24-year-old man from Tennessee. We do have team coverage this evening, beginning with ABC's Wjla and the moment the terror began.
Tonight, bullet holes and shell casings at the military recruiting center where the rampage began. 10:45 a.m. A man in a silver Ford Mustang convertible, the top down, driving into the strip mall. Offices here for all 4 branches of the military.
He just pulled up, and next thing you know, he lifted up his arms like this with a big black gun, and just, it was one shot, and then it was just endless shots, one after another, just unloading into the Army.
Dozens of shots. 1 Marine hit in the leg, but within seconds, the gunman flees, racing 7 miles down the highway to a Navy Reserve support center. He enters the building and starts shooting, killing 4 Marines.
All units responding. All units responding. Hearing this is a mass casualty incident.
Police descend. A firefight breaks out. The gunman shot dead. Authorities now identify him as 24-year-old Mohammed Yosef Abdulaziz. And tonight, those aerial pictures, his silver Mustang found abandoned at the scene. Chattanooga, now a city in crisis.
This is a very, very terrible situation, and we need to go figure out how we can handle it.
Hospital emergency rooms locked down, local colleges too. Back at the strip mall, terrified workers barricading themselves inside stores and restaurants. But 30 minutes after the first shots were fired, it is all over.
We are treating this as an act of domestic terrorism.
Tonight, a community in shock. This young woman carrying roses to honor those killed in this terrible day. David, tonight the Chattanooga mayor says this attack was incomprehensible and a nightmare being felt throughout the country. David?
Jim Wjla leading us off tonight. Jim, thank you. And now to the suspect. We have learned tonight he was not under active surveillance by the FBI. Tonight, what we know about the 24-year-old Tennessee man, reportedly with a good-paying job, a recent college grad, and what he said before in his yearbook. ABC senior justice correspondent Pierre Thomas now.
Tonight, the FBI is identifying the suspect as Mohammed Yosef Abdulaziz, shown here in a mugshot from a drunk driving arrest earlier this year. He is 24 years old and sources say born in Kuwait. Authorities are now investigating if he was inspired by ISIS or another terrorist organization. Sources tell ABC News this man was not under active surveillance by the FBI, a classic so-called lone wolf. But Abdulaziz joked in his 2008 high school yearbook that my name causes national security alerts. What does yours do? Tonight we learned the 24-year-old was an electrical engineer with a good-paying job, a recent grad of the University of Tennessee. His mom posting these graduation photos on Facebook. He's also seen here in this mixed martial arts video. FBI officials are poring over the car used in the suspect's deadly shooting spree, and tonight the FBI and local law enforcement are descending on his home in Hickson, Tennessee, not far from Chattanooga. The concern tonight is high, with Homeland Security Secretary Jay Johnson announcing that the U.S. government is enhancing the security posture at certain federal facilities out of an abundance of caution. Sources tell ABC News that the public should expect to see an increased presence of law enforcement at federal facilities across the nation.
And Pierre Thomas now with us live from Washington. And Pierre, you were in two separate meetings with the director of the FBI in recent weeks, and this is precisely what he feared?
Exactly, David. Last week, he was blunt, warning emphatically that ISIS poses an active and ongoing threat, and he told Congress he could not guarantee that every plot would be stopped. What happened today was very much the type of scenario he was worried about. We don't yet know if this was an ISIS-inspired attack, but I can certainly tell you this was exactly what he was worried about. David?
Right, Pierre Thomas with us live. Pierre, thank you. The president late today in the Oval Office talking about his briefing with the FBI, promising a prompt and thorough investigation, saying the White House will be in touch with the Pentagon. He also asked for prayers for the families of the victims, and here's what he had to say.
I just received a briefing from FBI Director Comey as well as my White House team about the tragic shooting that took place in Chattanooga today. We don't know yet all the details. We know that what appears to be a lone gunman carried out these attacks. We've identified a name, and at this point, a full investigation is taking place. The FBI will be in the lead, working closely with local law enforcement. My main message right now is obviously the deepest sympathies of the American people to the 4 Marines that have been killed. It is a heartbreaking circumstance for these individuals who have served our country with great valor to be killed in this fashion.
The president late today in the Oval Office asking for those prayers for the families. I want to get to ABC's chief investigative correspondent Brian Ross. We cannot underscore tonight that there is no connection to ISIS so far, but the real concern given the propaganda and the messages as recently as this weekend, Brian.
Exactly right, David. As recently as this last weekend and going back a year, ISIS has been urging its followers in the U.S. to attack uniformed police and military in this country. And ISIS has actually posted the photos and home addresses of more than 100 active duty soldiers saying, "What are you waiting for? Kill them in their own land." This year alone, the FBI says it has made arrests in at least 5 plots aimed at domestic military facilities. Again, it's not known tonight whether today's attack was yet another ISIS-inspired plot, but if so, it would appear to be the first time that ISIS has been able to pull it off, David.
But Brian, you've reported here that the Pentagon has warned families of potential attacks like these, but there are so many of these recruiting centers all over the country. How do you secure them?
Absolutely. There are some 5,000 recruitment centers across the country and shopping malls and commercial locations that can't really be put under 24-hour guard. They are very soft targets, David.
Right. We will stay on this throughout the night. Brian Ross tonight, thanks to you. In the meantime, we turn to breaking news from Colorado tonight. A guilty verdict a short time ago for James Holmes. The suspect with the red hair there in Colorado, his appearance radically changing over time in the 3 years since the shooting. That movie theater massacre took 12 lives and injured dozens. Tonight, ABC's Clayton Sandell at the courthouse.
It took a jury 13 hours to reach a verdict.
We, the jury, find the defendant, James Egan Holmes, guilty of murder in the first degree.
From the beginning, Holmes admitted he did it.
I got 7 down in feet or night.
Opening fire, murdering these 12 people, injuring 70 more 3 years ago at a midnight premiere of a Batman movie. Over 11 weeks, more than 250 witnesses took the stand.
Her stomach, it wasn't moving. She wasn't breathing anymore.
And he wouldn't answer.
His attorneys, trying to save him from the death penalty, argued he was insane.
The mental illness is the reason, the sole reason, that this crime took place.
Prosecutors argued Holmes' own notebook with sketches of theater exits and noting police response times. Even his booby-trapped apartment showed detailed premeditation. 2 court-appointed experts testified he is mentally ill, but knew right from wrong.
That guy was sane beyond a reasonable doubt, and he needs to be held accountable for what he did.
And David, now that Holmes has been found guilty of murder, sentencing will be next. This same jury must now decide if Holmes will spend the rest of his life in prison or face the death penalty. David?
Clayton, thank you. And from South Carolina tonight, another accused mass murderer in court, Dylan Roof, shuffling in leg shackles for a preliminary hearing in that killing. of 9 worshipers at a church in Charleston. The judge setting his trial to begin in July of next year. We turn now to Texas and a mysterious death in a jail cell under investigation tonight. The arrest of the woman in custody caught on camera. The video now sparking outrage, appearing to show her tackled by police after a routine traffic stop. 3 days later, finding her dead in her cell. Police calling it a suicide, but tonight her family saying that is just not possible. The DA now investigating, and here's ABC's Ryan Smith.
Tonight, outrage at this video surfacing days after Sandra Bland died in a Texas jail.
I can't even hear.
The 28-year-old activist,
My goal is to racially unite.
died 3 days after this arrest for allegedly assaulting an officer during a routine traffic stop. Police saying in a statement she was argumentative and uncooperative. But police appear to try to stop a witness from filming.
You need to leave. Am I on public property?
And Sandra applauding it.
Thank you for recording. Thank you.
The medical examiner saying she hanged herself. Today, Bland's family demanding answers.
She was very aggravated. She seems to be in pain.
They say Sandra was days away from starting a new job and would never take her own life.
Based on the Sandy that I knew, that's unfathomable to me.
This family needs to understand what happened.
The Texas Rangers are investigating, with the FBI monitoring this case. The family's lawyer telling us they hope to meet with Texas authorities soon to get some answers, David.
All right, Ryan Smith with us here tonight. Ryan, thank you. We're going to turn next here to new details of that miraculous survival. 16-year-old Autumn Veach speaking out tonight about the moment the small plane she was in crashed, wandering for 2 days and then emerging from the woods to call 911. Speaking about her step-grandparents who were on that plane, she tried to pull them out. They did not survive. Here's ABC's Kana Whitworth with the interview.
I was positive I was going to die, and then I was positive I was going to live.
With just a bandaged hand, scratches, and bug bites, tonight, Autumn Veach is telling an incredible story of survival.
It was completely white, and then right as we were starting to go up, I could just see all the trees, and we just crashed, and I felt everything jolt.
Autumn's grandparents were flying her from Montana to Washington State. With just 30 minutes left in their flight, the plane hit stormy weather and crashed into a mountain in the North Cascades.
It's beyond me how I made it out that fast.
She couldn't get to her grandmother through the flames and burned her hand trying to free her grandfather.
So are you telling me that you watched your step-grandparents die?
Yeah. Yeah, that's something that's probably going to haunt me forever.
Veach said she thought she had fallen asleep and was having a nightmare, but there would be no sleep for 2 more days. Alone, she stumbled down the grisly mountainside. Having watched shows like Survivorman,
Survival.
she knew if she found a stream, she could follow it to a trail, then a highway. Help at last, she thought.
I was trying to hitchhike, trying to get a ride and flag somebody down, but nobody stopped.
Eventually, someone did.
We crashed, and I was the only one that made it out.
Tonight, alive, with burns to her back and hands, most of the trauma rests in her heart.
I definitely have never wanted to live more in my life. Having a second chance is the best thing that could have ever happened.
Kana Whitworth, ABC News, Bellingham, Washington.
Kana, thank you. Next tonight here to word coming in on former President George H.W. Bush. This evening on the mend now after a fall at his home in Maine. The 91-year-old Bush suffering from a broken bone in his neck. ABC's Ron Claiborne at the hospital tonight.
The former president, seen in this photo on his wife's 90th birthday last month, suffered the injury in a fall at his home in Kennebunkport, Maine.
It is a significant injury, but right now the president is in excellent shape, and we would anticipate that he would make a full recovery.
The diagnosis, a fracture in his C2 vertebrae. He'll wear a neck brace but undergo no surgery. Son Jeb Bush, campaigning today in California, said his father is stable. And granddaughter Jenna tweeting, "Thanks for all your thoughts and prayers for our dear Gramps. We are optimistic he will heal well." The former president, who spoke in April in this tribute video to his wife,
Happy birthday, Bar.
has Parkinson's disease and is confined to a wheelchair. Still, his doctor said today he is tough. Just 1 year ago, he celebrated his 90th birthday with a Bush tradition, parachuting from a helicopter. The former president will remain hospitalized at least overnight. His doctor says it will take 3 to 4 months before he is fully healed. David?
We're all pulling for him tonight.